Hello and welcome to Hudson Coachworks. Today we are going to be doing an instructional video on how to install one of our billet upper tailgate strut relocation blocks. Now what these do is they change the orientation of the gas struts, and what that does is it changes how the upper tailgate closes. So as you can see with a stock standard one like this, it is always pressurized, which means that it puts pressure on the hinges at all times to permanently try to open. Now what we're trying to do is change that so that when it's in the closed position, there's no pressure on the hinges to open, which means when you are driving on undulated surfaces, or if you haven't properly closed the tailgate, it won't just randomly just come up. So what we're going to do is take apart some of the components we'll need to actually access and install this, and then go through the entire process using simple tools. And I'll try to do so without using any tools here from the workshop that are either expensive or just difficult to get a hold of. So now that you've got the interior stripped and everything accessible, the next thing you want to do is grab a tape measure. And now what you want to do is you want to measure right from the edge, just where the seal pretty much ends, and where the frame is, all the way down, which will give you roughly about 480 mil. And once you've got 480 mil, just grab yourself a whiteboard marker or something that you can easily remove, and just mark that measurement down. Now that you've done that to one side, you want to do that exact same process to the other side and just mark that 480. All right, so now that you've got that yellow marking there, what you want to do is just peel back this seal, exposing that ridge, and place another yellow marker like I have here. With that, then you can grab the billet block, place that just over that edge, and what you want to do is you want to put 2 holes on the right hand side of this seal. Now that's going to be a little bit different on the 2-door. Just an important thing to note, guys, if you're installing these blocks on a 2-door, you'll find that seal curves out right where the blocks need to be installed. So you want to make sure that the fixings are actually on the outside face of that seal. So just like this one here, you can see those fixings on the outside, whereas usually on a 4-door or later model classics, you'll find that same seal comes actually vertically down. It doesn't do that little bend. And if that's the case, then what you want to do is make sure that you put your fixings on the right or on the inside face of that seal, just like on this one. So now with the holes drilled and deburred, the next thing to do is grab your billet block, making sure that you got the correct side with the logo facing backwards and being able to read. And then what you want to do is put the fixings that the blocks come with through and just start winding them in. So you can obviously also do this on the outside standing up, which might make it a bit easier for you. But I just thought I'd show you guys just from the perspective of the orientation of the billet blocks on the inside. So there you have it, it's nice and secure. Beautiful. Now the next thing to do is obviously to remove the gas struts and then also drill out the mounting position here on the upper frame, because what we're going to do now is, rather than have it here, we're actually going to shift it to the back here. So just with a screwdriver, just free that little lip on the gas strut like that, and this should just come off quite easily. And obviously when you take one off, then usually the frame will want to come down, because it needs both to secure it. There's a fair bit of pressure on that. There we go. You can see now you realise when you remove the gas struts just how much weight there is in this frame, particularly if it's still steel like this one. All right, so now that we've done that, we need to drill through the frame and just remove those pop rivets, and then shift this to the back over there, which is a pretty straightforward process. So there you have it, that's the little bracket that you're after. So with the supplied 10mm bore stud, just screw that straight into the actual billet block like that. And then what you want to do is grab your gas strut with the skinny end facing down, like that. And then the idea here is, what we want to do is we want to relocate that bracket that we removed just, I should say, let me just move it that way. We want to relocate it just below the original upper mount. The idea here is we want enough clearance so that obviously when the upper tailgate closes, it won't catch onto this and prevent it from closing properly. So just a little bit underneath works perfect. Just make sure obviously that you can put the gas strut over the 10mm stud without any contact here. So a little bit further down is no problem. And one thing you can do is you can actually grab your gas strut when you've got it completely removed, and then compress it on the ground and just measure what the compressed state is. Obviously I've just done that and it's smaller than this, so there's no problems here that we're not going to be bottoming out the gas strut. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to drill the 2 holes, or mark the 2 holes, drill right through, then put a pop rivet, and then that mount will be ready to clip on, and that's one side done. And then we'll do the same on the other side, and then the upper frame is completely secure again. All right, so the next thing to do is to grab the bracket now that we've drilled our holes. And it's time to now pop rivet it into the frame. Unfortunately, I don't have a basic pop riveter. I've just got to utilize the workshop one. However, even a basic one will do this job extremely well. I'm just going to rest this on my head and just get the pop rivets in to place where they want it. I'm just going to lower this, grab the pop riveter. So that's one. Now that's two. Now when you've got one side on, I'd recommend definitely clipping it on, then that way you don't have to rest it on your head. And you've got somewhere where it can sit, just like that. And then it makes things a lot easier to do the other side. So with the blocks installed and the whole system tested, remove the blocks, clean up the holes and throw a lick of paint around the holes just so that the holes don't corrode. Once the paint is dried up, reinstall the blocks and just throw a dab of sealant around the bolt heads. That way they're completely sealed up. This is particularly important on a two-door where the bolts are outside the seal and may experience a little bit of water coming in. So there you have it, guys. Upper tailgate billet strut relocation blocks have been installed, and yeah, what a difference they make. As you can see, when you start pulling the tailgate down, from this point onwards, it starts pulling the frame shut for you. So if you don't have that, if you haven't shut it properly, it will just maintain in that closed position until you have the time to get out and actually properly give it a firm shut. Obviously, from in terms of functionality, it more or less does exactly the same. You can see it still lifts the glass up. You still have to shut the glass, but at the same time, just in that last quarter, it will sort of just help you with closing it up. Now, one of the things, if you do this, the other thing that I'd recommend is just have a play with your latches, make sure everything is correctly lined up, lubricate and just look after them. And also in this center button here, just one thing to note is just make sure you can see that push rod coming down and actually activating that latch, and that it's doing its job of opening and closing. I've seen these pretty seized up and everything here is lined up and lubricated, and people just getting really frustrated that it's not opening and closing like it should, and it just comes down to this aspect here as well. So just look after the latches and keep an eye on them at your service routines, and you won't have any issues with it whatsoever. And one thing to note, if you have a really lovely frame here that's still in great condition, just make sure, smear a bit of silicone down the bottom here, and that will stop any water from actually getting in there and rusting it out. As you can see on this one, it's starting to bubble, and unfortunately, we're going to have to replace it next time it's in, and just look after it. And when we do replace these, we replace these with aluminium frames and solid ones all the way around, so they're fully welded and the glass actually comes in from the inside face, as opposed to some of them in the market where this bottom half comes off and the glass goes all the way through, and then you shut and screw it in, which I've actually got one on my one and I'm not very pleased by it. So it is something that I'll definitely be replacing, and it's one that we no longer at all use across any of the cars here. So there you have it, guys. There's going to be a ton more instructional videos on installing some of the billet interior parts that we've got, alongside with maybe other videos like replacing the upper frame or anything else that you guys would like to see. So yeah, shoot us a comment down below of what you want to see and whether this helped, and we'll also put a link to where you can purchase the billet blocks. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.